Hi everyone, Chris Anderson with Mount Comfort RV. We're coming to you live, well probably not live at this point, but live for now, from the KOA of Indianapolis. This is our next door neighbor, so just east of Indianapolis, right off of Mount Comfort Road, you'll find Mount Comfort RV and the KOA of Indianapolis. We'll put their phone number right down here so you can call them up and make some reservations. This is a great campground, many pull-through sites, 30 amp hookup, 50 amp hookup, all of it. You have on-site sewer at most of these sites in here. They have cabins if you don't already own an RV, but you can come see me and I'll take care of that for you. They have tent sites as well, a wonderful little camp store, and the place is just really nice and the people are friendly. So I can't say enough good things about them. Thank you to them for letting us use one of their premier sites to actually do this. Well, what are we doing other than sweating? This is not Hollywood fake sweat, by the way. This is actual real sweat. We scheduled this a couple of weeks ago, and of course it ends up to be like the hottest day in 10 years. So we're going to be a little warm doing this one, but that's okay. What are we doing? Well, we're going to try to, instead of trying to sell an RV today, we're going to try to alleviate some concerns people might have. I know there's people out there that are thinking, you know, I don't know if I can do all the stuff required for an RV. How do you hook it up? How do you unhook it? It seems complicated. It's really not. There's several little step-by-step processes, but we want to put your mind at ease that you too can do this. So let's get started on that. So one of the first things you have to accomplish is getting your RV parked and leveled. And that's going to be a different procedure for motorhomes than it is for travel trailers, than it is for fifth wheels. And that's why one of the reasons I didn't want to go too far into that. The other reason is it would have been pretty boring in this particular one because we're on a concrete slab. This is a level side-to-side site, which is what you're looking for. You want to be level side-to-side. You can change your level front to back with your tongue jack, whether it's an electric one or a crank one like this one. If you're too high or too low in the front, you can certainly rectify that. Now, if you're off side to side, that's a little trickier, but it's not difficult. So if you pulled into your site and you realize you're off one side or the other from being level, what you want to do is get back in your rig, pull it forward a little bit, put some boards down. I carry 2x12s with me and several of them so that I can drive up, then back the trailer back onto those boards and raise whatever side is low. It's really not difficult to do. It'll take you an extra 5 minutes basically to get it level side to side. So that's going to be your number one. Number two, when you get out, you're going to want to level front to back with your tongue jack if we're talking about a travel trailer here. So obviously raising and lowering until you're level. Some coaches have power tongue jacks, fifth wheels have power landing gear on the front. Motorhomes typically have a full automatic leveling system. So leveling is going to be different based on what type of RV we're talking about. But I think we can cover that just by saying get your RV level. First of all, that's going to be step one. Step two is going to be to bring your stabilizers down. Now, different RVs have different types of stabilizers, okay? These are a crank down. These are actually the ones I like best for a travel trailer. These are a crank down stabilizer. Now, there's two ways to do this. If you want to look like a rookie, okay, you get this little tool out here and you start cranking down on it, like so. But everybody in the campground is going to know you're a rookie at that point. What you should do is buy the little adapter, put it on your power screw gun or 3/4 inch socket and run them down manually or run them down with the power gun. It's going to work a lot better and a lot faster that way. You'll thank me later for that. But get your trailer stabilized, and then once you're stable and level, you know, now we can start hooking some other things up. Okay, your next step is going to be to hook up your power cord. So there's two ends to this. You're basically hooking up an extension cord, really, at the end of the day is what you're doing. But there are a few tricks based on how your RV is set up. Now, this particular one has a detachable cord, so it's completely on its own, and it stores in a compartment. Like on a high-end motorhome or fifth wheel, you might have a power cord reel that you unroll it from on your RV. Or like my RV has a cord like this one, but it shoves in through the side. I have to tuck it all back up in there. But for this one, we'll hook up this end first. Okay, get him lined up like so. Get it on there, and then we'll tighten up this little ring. Okay, so this end is hooked up. The other end is where it's a little trickier. Got to be aware of what you're doing. Probably should have untangled this beforehand. There we go. We're going to come over here to the post. Now, most campgrounds are set up to where somewhere on your left-hand side, or driver's side, if you will, is going to be all your hookups, and that's what we have here. All right. So if we look in here, this is actually a really well set up campground. We have a 50 amp plug over here. a 30 amp plug here and a 15 amp plug here. So the real key here is to know what your RV is. This is a 30 amp plug. It's not 220. It's just a heavy duty 120 volt plug, and it will plug right in there. But before I do, always make sure the breaker is off. Okay, so we're going to plug it in just like so. There we go. Then we're going to turn our 30 amp breaker on. There we go. How hard was that? Power is now hooked up. Everything in our coach will work now. The air conditioner will run, thank God, on a day like today. Refrigerator is going to run now off of the electricity we're providing to it. Your battery is charging, all that good stuff. All your lights are working, so now electricity is hooked up. What's next? All right, what's next is water. This is really basically hooking up a garden hose. I feel in one sense silly demonstrating hooking up a garden hose. I think we all know how to do that. But again, the whole point of this video is to show you how easy these steps are to do. This is an RV hose dedicated for that. It's made out of a different material than like a garden hose is. Garden hose will leave a funky flavor sometimes. So if you can pick these up at any RV store, Walmart, whatever, and you'll do better with one of these. So really, how easy is it? Well, on this end, we're gonna hook up right here. There we go. Now this end looks a little funky. What's going on here? Well, we have a water regulator screwed on here. They're a great idea. If you don't have one, you can pick them up at any RV store, order it on Amazon, whatever. But it keeps you, if you were in a situation where Campground had tremendous water pressure, it would keep you from putting too much pressure that would damage your RV into the system. So water pressure regulator, great idea. Other than that, we're just going to screw him on right here. All right, and once this is hooked up, you could say just turn on the water, but I'm going to throw another little pro tip at you here. I always go in at this point before I crank this water on, and I'm going to look at all my faucets. Make sure they're off. Make sure the shower's not, during travel, the shower wand didn't fall off the wall and is hanging out and it's on a little bit. Because if you've got a faucet that's on and you turn that water on, before you get inside, you're going to have a mess. I knew a guy once, I won't name names, but he turned his faucet on and his kitchen sink was on, and the faucet wasn't over the sink anymore. It was off to the side on top of the counter. And by the time he realized it 5 minutes later, he had some cleaning up to do and a not so happy wife. So pro tip, go turn off all your faucets on the inside and then slowly turn your water on. And even then I go in and check. If it's your first time of the year, you might forget something like putting the plug in the water heater or unbypassing your water heater, stuff like that. So, but once you're set for the season, it's pretty easy. So that is hooking up your water. All right, we've come to that time, the moment everybody fears most. It's really not a big deal. I do put on rubber gloves when I do this, but it's not something where I usually have anything, not even a drop, on them if you do things in the correct order. All right, so these gloves are a size too small. There we go. The idea is we have a holding tank with two holding tanks with gray and black water in them. And we have a spot to put it sticking up out of the ground there. We must marry those two up. How do we do that? Well, first thing we need is our sewer hose. Of course, it's in the other end. It stores nicely in the bumper on a lot of RVs. There we go. One sewer hose. All right, I like to use one of these as well. I have one of these. It seems a little gross, but this clear little elbow, not only does it fit in the PVC pipe sticking up out of the ground a little better and a little better seal there, but also you can see what's going on. You can see when the flow is clearing up, when it's winding down, all that good stuff. Hey, the fun stuff we talk about, huh? All right, so simply put, gravity does the job. So you've heard, stuff runs downhill. Well, it does in this case as well. Oh, nice. This sewer hose actually has an ear broken off it. You would want to replace this, and that's why Chris is not going to pull the handle on here. With a broken off ear on here, this is supposed to have an ear like this. This is not fitting tight on there, and then you could have some leakage, so that would not be good. So we're not going to pull the lever. But here's where the tanks terminate, both the gray and the black. Now, one possibility for getting a little wetness on is when you first pop this, because there's two valves here. There's a gray and a black valve, and technically, if they're sealing perfectly, nothing will be behind this cap when I open it. Don't assume that, okay? Sometimes there's a few drops that have worked their way past the gate valve, and you want to be ready for that. So I'm going to just turn the cap and unlock it. There we go. And then kind of lift from the top and let the bottom out first. And if there was a few drops in there, it would have hit the ground, not me, okay? This one's sealing up nicely, so we're good there. The next step would be to get this clamped on here, like so, and make sure it locks on. Pro tip, make sure it locks on, okay? And then we'll get down here. There's two handles on this RV. They're color-coded. There's black and there's gray. So talk about holding tanks for a minute. We have 3 holding tanks on most RVs: freshwater tank, gray water, black water. Freshwater tank is simply what is your water that you put in here for use if you're not going to be hooked up to city water. Gray water tank is what goes down the sink and shower drains, and black water is what goes down the toilet. So, you know, they have a different degree of icky for those two, and we want to make sure we deal with that in the right way. So before you would pull those handles, you take the cap off here, put the other end of this hose right here, okay? It helps in my world. This one turns a little, I think. There we go. It's not a bad idea to have an assistant put a foot on that while it gets started here. Never a bad idea, but certainly this is how you would have it hooked up. Now, which do we do first, black or gray? Well, you definitely want to do black first. That's the yuckier of the water, obviously. So pull that handle, go do something else for 5 minutes. Gravity does its thing, let it flow out. When it's done, shouldn't take more than 5 minutes. I always come over, if I don't have my little my low gravity run set up here, I just kind of do this and start from the RV and get the last few drops of black out of there. At that point, close your black valve. Go ahead and get it closed, and then pull your gray valve. Now your gray valve, again, that's sink and shower water, so it's dirty water, but not dirty like black water, and it's all gonna flow out, and in essence, it's rinsing down your pipe as well. Now, a question that we deal with often, and I think it's important to cover here is, can I just leave my valves open? Well, can you leave your valves open? In theory, that seems like a good idea. I'm at a full hookup site, I leave my valves open, whatever we put in goes out, and we're good to go. Yeah, it doesn't really work like that on the black tank side. You can certainly leave your gray open. If you're going to be campsite for a while, leave your gray open. There's no problems there. You know, it comes in on this line, you use the water, it comes out on that line, easy. With the black water, we got to remember we might be dealing with some solids as well. Again, the things we talk about, right? So your black tank, there's a little bit of science going on, there's a little bit of chemistry going on, and you have to be aware of that. In your black tank, you have not only the stuff you've put in there, but you also have toilet chemical in there as well, whether it's liquid chemical or they make these little dissolving pellets like dishwasher pellets on most, that have usually enzymes and certainly deodorizer in there, and that is something that you need in there to break down the solids. So if you just left your black tank open all the time, basically what's going to happen is the liquids run through, the solids do not, and you end up with a holding tank, a black tank. It's a poo mound, okay? There's no better way to say it. And whatever RV tech has to deal with that is going to charge you extra for fixing that problem. So don't get a poo mound, just leave your black tank closed. So what we would do next in setting up is, since I've got everything hooked up here, I'm going to go in and I'm going to fill my toilet by pressing the lever halfway down. I'm going to fill my toilet up. I'm going to drop one of those pellets or pour chemical into the toilet and flush it while my black valve is closed. That gets a fresh dose of toilet chemical in your black tank before anything else is introduced into it, and therefore everything will break down. The enzymes will break down the waste. You won't have odors in the camper, that type of thing. So that's a little bit about dumping open your tanks. Now, once I've done all of this, the next step, if I had a slide out, would be to open the slide. I don't like to open the slide before that because when I'm getting stuff in and out of compartments or I'm bending over and standing up, it's a good way to whack your head on something. Having the slide open makes it a little more crowded over here. Now that I've got everything hooked up, it's a great time to open my slide out. Okay, what's next? Well, we've got our slide open if we have it. We have our coach level and stable. We have water hooked up, electric hooked up. We even have our sewer hooked up for when we're going to need that. We have our toilet charged. What's next? Well, next is the fun stuff starts. If it's a nice day, we're going to open up the awning. Now, there's different ways. Most awnings are power these days, but manual awnings are good awnings as well. Awnings should be used on nice days. If you think it's too windy for your awning, it's probably too windy for your awning. We sell a lot of replacement awnings because people had them open when the wind was too strong, and one gust can absolutely take this off. This is a big sail to catch in the wind. Awnings are for nice days, but on a day like today where the sun's really beating down on us, it's 90 degrees outside, this is definitely something you want to have open. So now my awning's open. I'm going to set up my favorite chair, find my favorite beverage, and let the fun start. Now, I don't know how long this video will end up being, but this whole process, if I was doing it on my camper that I'm familiar with and all of that, 10 to 15 minutes max. I mean, you know, by the time I shut the truck off, it doesn't take me long to get to this point here where I'm setting up the chair, finding my favorite icy cold beverage, and starting to relax and enjoy time with my friends and family. So that's what we're talking about here. And if you camp at KOA of Indianapolis, you might get an extra slick campsite like this where they have swings, and they have a fireplace back here, a nice swinging chair here. You know, what a nice little dinette there. You have your own grill. This is really a premier site. I may have to come back here with my own RV. So anyway, that's it. I hope this helps ease your mind that yes, anybody can do this. This is not difficult. We'll walk you through every step of it. We'll teach you how to use an RV as well as get you hooked up with the right RV. Thanks for watching. My name's Chris Anderson with Mount Comfort RV and KOA of Indianapolis. We'll see you soon.